evening, everyone, and you're all very welcome to tonight's special agricultural education webinar, which is being brought to you tonight by the Teagasc advisory staff here in County Mayo. My name is Brendan Garry, and I work in Teagasc and Ballinrobe as an education officer. And tonight, for the next hour, I'm delighted to be your host. Now, you, the viewers, are encouraged to engage with our panelists here tonight through the questions and answers function at the bottom of your screens, and we'll try and answer as many of the questions live possible tonight. And any unanswered questions will then be followed up afterwards in the coming days, as some questions may require further information in order to accurately answer them, so it may not be possible to answer them all live tonight. So tonight, it gives me great pleasure to welcome our guest speaker here tonight with us, who is Donal Halleran, Branch Manager with IFAC in Ball, County Mayo. And Donal will outline some of the key taxation benefits to completing the Teagasc Agricultural Green Cert. While later on this evening, Padraig Walsh from Teagasc and Ballina will also outline the various Teagasc Green Cert course options for students that are hoping to study here in County Mayo. While later on this evening, Vivian Silke, the Teagasc Regional Manager from County Mayo, will put your questions to the panellists. So please type your questions into the questions and answers box at the bottom of your screens, and we will follow up with the questions at the end of all the presentations. Now, this webinar is being recorded and will be available to watch back in the Teagasc Mayo YouTube channel in the coming days. And indeed, without further delay, at this stage of the evening, I'm now going to hand it over to Donal, who's going to give us a presentation on the taxation benefits of completing the Green Cert. So over to you now, Donal.
Thanks very much, Brendan. And good evening, everybody. My name is Donal Halleran, and I'm the branch manager with IFAC Farm Accountants in Ball. We specialise in farm accounts and taxation services. I'm here this evening to talk about the Green Certificate and primarily the tax benefits associated with the Green Cert. So government policy has been and continues to be to support and encourage the food and drinks business in general and agriculture in particular. While the government and the EU provide various grants to assist farmers, holders of agricultural qualifications such as Green Cert can benefit further, the aim being to encourage farmers to get additional education and to get additional training to make farms as efficient and as profitable as possible. So who is a young trained farmer? So a young trained farmer under revenue guidelines is an individual who is under the age of 35 and the holder of an agricultural qualification. Whereas for the Department of Agriculture, it's an individual under the age of 40 and a holder of the same agricultural qualification. So it causes a bit of confusion with young farmers. So it's very important to note the distinction. Basically, for revenue, the tax benefits associated with Green Cert expire at the age of 35, whereas for the department, they expire at 40. By way of context, the benefits discussed, tax and others discussed in today's presentation, are as per existing legislation today. It is possible that more may be added in the future. Likewise, some benefits may be reduced or removed entirely at some stage. Professional advice should always be obtained before acting on any information. On a transfer or disposal of farmland, three taxes are relevant: capital gains tax for the transfer, or stamp duty for the recipient, and capital acquisitions tax or gift tax for the recipient. Our discussion today will refer to points 2 and 3 as the Green Cert has no relevance for capital gains tax. So in terms of benefits of the Green Cert, so benefits of having a Green Cert for taxation purposes come under several headings. Firstly, under farm partnerships, and they're primarily income tax benefits. Secondly, under stock relief, once again, income tax benefits. Thirdly, under stamp duty on land transfer, stamp duty benefit. And lastly, agricultural relief for gift or inheritance tax, basically on agricultural assets transferred or on an inheritance. So looking at partnerships first, there are two types of partnerships to consider where the Green Cert provides tax benefits. The first is a registered farm partnership. And by way of background, a partnership is where two or more parties enter into a business arrangement where they operate one business between them, such as a farm. A simple or informal partnership is the most basic way to do this, but a simple partnership does not benefit from the additional grants associated with the Green Cert. A registered farm partnership is a formal partnership that is registered with the department, so it brings it one step step higher. In order to qualify for entering into a registered partnership, we must have two categories of partner making up the partnership. The first is a category A partner, basically an existing farmer. It is a person who has been engaged in the trade of farming on farmland owned or leased by that person, consisting of at least 3 hectares of usable farmland for at least 2 years immediately preceding the date of formation of the partnership. So basically, the existing farmer has to be involved in the registered farm partnership. And secondly, a category 2 partner, and that is a natural person with an appropriate qualification whose contributions to the farm partnership entitles him or her to at least 20% of the profit sharing arrangement. And that person will have to work in the farm partnership for at least 10 hours per week. They will then consider to be a category 2 partner. It's important to note that it won't work if that person is working away from the farm and cannot be back for the 10 hours per week. So such a partnership, registered farm partnership, can qualify for a significantly enhanced TAMS threshold under the Young Farmer Capital Investment Scheme, whereas the category 2 farmer holding a green cert and qualifying as a young farmer can get a grant of up to 60% on a maximum investment of 80,000, in addition to the existing category 1 farmer who can qualify for up to 40% of another 80,000. In theory, if a farmer was investing over 160,000 in qualifying assets, they could potentially avail of grant aid worth 80,000 euro. And if you compare that with the existing farmer doing it on his own, the grant threshold would be 32,000. So you have an increase there of up to 48,000 available under the registered farm partnership in additional capital grants. For tax purposes, the registered farm partnership will facilitate the division of profits on the farm to ensure that the maximum amount of the farm profits are taxed at the standard rate of income tax. By way of an example, a parent and child farming together, the profits can be split under their discretion to maximize the amount of income tax at lower rates. So if one farmer has off-farm income in the low rate and one is in the high rate, they can decide that more income will go to the person in the lower rate to avail of the lower rates. The second form of partnership that I want to talk about is a succession farm partnership. So after entering into a registered farm partnership, the structure can evolve into a succession farm partnership. This structure facilitates the transfer of the farm to young trained farmers. The assets must be transferred to the successor between years 3 and 10 of the agreement. This form of partnership isn't as common as the registered farm partnership, but it can be very valuable for some farmers. So in terms of tax benefits, it has the ability to split income in a way to maximize the amount of income in the low rate as in the registered farm partnership. But in addition, there is a 5,000 tax credit available in each of the 5 years of the first 5 years of the partnership. And this credit is split between the partners in line with the profit sharing ratio that they have agreed. While it sounds very good, and it is very good, there are a few potential downsides. There are restrictive conditions associated with this. The first being that the tax credit itself is only available for 5 years, whereas the agreement could go on for 10 years. If the successor reaches the age of 40 before the 5 years have elapsed, then the credit will cease to apply from that date. So to get the most benefit, the successor would want to be under the age of 35. And lastly, the tax benefit, it's actually tax credit against the tax of the partners. And in certain cases, the partners may not have income high enough to be paying that tax to get the benefit of it. So once again, it is very valuable for some farmers, but it won't be of use to everybody. So they're the two partnership, basically main partnership advantages. So moving on to the second area of interest, and that is the 100% stock relief for income tax purposes. Now, I suppose it's important to know that this is also available to companies, but they're not being covered here today, as the green cert wouldn't. The green cert applies to individuals. So, what is 100% stock relief? 100% stock relief is available to individuals who qualify as young farmers in the eyes of revenue, and it will be available in the year that they commence to farm and for 3 years thereafter. By way of an example, if the individual had opening stock in the financial year of 100,000 and if the closing stock increased to 110,000, basically that means the stock has increased in the year by 10,000, and that represents additional profit in the farm which is taxable. So 100% stock relief means the difference in the increase in stock will be allowed as a full deduction against the profit for the young trained farmer. So basically revenue will allow that 10,000 be deducted from the farm profits. So it is a very valuable tax relief. Once again, to elaborate the example, if a young trained farmer made a profit in the year of €25,000, we take the 10,000 extra stock relief off it, and we come back to a taxable income of €15,000. In normal circumstances, a farmer would only be entitled to a 25% deduction on this difference, which could, in certain circumstances, under a registered farm partnership, increase to 50%. But 100% stock relief is an extremely valuable tax benefit. It's important to note that the young trained farmer is required to have a business plan submitted to Teagasc prior to filing the tax return in which they are claiming the relief. In the absence of that, revenue could subsequently pull the relief and increase the tax liability. So the third area of benefits of the Green Cert that I want to look at is stamp duty. And stamp duty is the tax that is payable by the purchaser or indeed a recipient on the transfer of land. It's basically a tax on an asset transfer. The standard rate of stamp duty in Ireland is now 7.5% on commercial transactions. It was recently as low as 2%, and it obviously adds considerably to the cost of acquiring land. For example, somebody acquiring land with a value of 500,000, the stamp duty at 7.5% would amount to €37,500. So it is a very substantial cost in the acquisition of land. So where the Green Cert helps is where the individual is the holder of a Green Cert, it will enable them qualify for one of two stamp duty reliefs on the acquisition of land. And the first area of relief is the young trained farmer stamp duty relief. What this does, it basically gives 100% relief from stamp duty. It reduces stamp duty to nil. It can be claimed where the following conditions on the transfer are satisfied. So the individual must be under the age of 35. This ceases at the age of 35, as it is no longer available from that date. And the person must hold an agricultural qualification. In addition, the claimant must declare that they will spend not less than 50% of his or her normal working time farming the land for a period of 5 years following the date of execution of stamp duty, and they must also retain ownership of the land for the same 5-year period following the date of execution. Once again, the young trained farmer must submit a business plan to Teagasc before the execution of the deed transferring the land. And as I said, on a 500,000 acquisition, be it either a purchase or a transfer from somebody, on a 500,000 acquisition, the stamp duty that would be saved would be €37,500. This would fall to nil. So it's a very valuable relief. It is important to note that there is a cumulative lifetime cap of €70,000 on the benefit that an individual can receive under the young trained farmer stamp duty relief, which I've just discussed, also the 100% stock relief, and also the succession farm partnership credit. So the previous three benefits that I have discussed, the benefits are not unlimited. If you hit 70,000 total on any of the three of these, the benefits stop at that point. So it's a small bit of for most people it won't have any impact, but anybody that goes above that, it is a negative. Still, the relief is very valuable up to €70,000. So the second area in relation to stamp duty is under the heading of cancel annuity relief. And what this relief does is reduces the rate of stamp duty from the standard 7.5% to a rate of 1%, where a transfer of agricultural assets is between blood relatives. So it has to be close relatives. In order to qualify, an individual taking possession of the land must meet one of the following criteria. They must farm the land with the view to making a profit. and also be a holder of an agricultural qualification, or else spend at least 50% of the normal working time farming. So the Green Cert removes the requirement for spending at least 50% of your working hours farming, which is a very useful exemption. For some people, that exemption isn't necessary, but for more it will be. It would allow them to claim this relief, where otherwise they may not be able to do so if they couldn't spend 50% of their normal working time farming. By way of an example, using the same 500,000 value on a transfer, stamp duty at 1% would amount to €5,000, and that would amount to a saving of 32,500 over the 7.5%. So you might ask, why not avail of the 100% young trained farmer? There are a lot of circumstances where the young trained farmer is not available, primarily because the person is gone over the age of 35, and the consign use relief, 1% stamp duty, is an extremely valuable relief in that context. A bit of a snag, it may be coming to an end in the next few years, and Revenue have also indicated that they may apply an upper age limit for next month's budget. Previously, there was an upper age limit of 67 on the transferor. That was removed, but there is a threat of it coming back again. The requirement that the transferor and transferee are blood relatives restricts this relief to family transactions, so it isn't available for the purchase or transfer for non-family members. In those circumstances, the recipient would have to rely on the young trained farmer relief available to under 35 individuals with the Green Cert to get stamp duty relief. So it is a very valuable relief. It is not available to all, but where it's available, it is very, very useful. So the fourth area of tax relief that I'd like to talk about, it's under agricultural relief, which is a relief that comes in under the gift or inheritance tax. And gift or inheritance tax is levied at the rate of 33% on gifts or inheritances of lifetime values over the thresholds of 335,000 for parents, from parent to child, which could include uncles or aunts in the case of favourite nephew or niece relief. The threshold is 32,500 for close relatives, and it is 16,250 for others. These thresholds were previously much higher, and then they fell in the last recession. They're gradually creeping back up again, so they are subject to upward or downward change. So what does agricultural relief do? It reduces the value of an inheritance by 90%, and using the same example of a 500,000 asset. A 500,000 asset is taxed as if it was 50,000, which makes it possible to significantly reduce or indeed eliminate the tax that might be payable otherwise. In order to qualify for agricultural relief, you must meet two tests. For the individual, the value of your agricultural property must consist of at least 80% of your total. The value of your agricultural property must consist of at least 80% of your total property value on the valuation date, which is called the asset farmer test. If agricultural property doesn't consist of at least 80% of your total property, you won't get agricultural relief. Also, for gifts and inheritance since 1st of January 2015, additional tests are required, and they are that the individual must farm the agricultural property on a commercial basis for at least 6 years from the date of acquisition, or else lease the property to somebody who will farm the agricultural property on a commercial basis for the same 6-year period. And these requirements are known as the active farmer test. In addition to these, the person receiving the gift or inheritance or the person leasing the land must either have an agricultural qualification, such as Green Cert, or farm the agricultural property for at least 50% of his or her normal working hours. So once again, the Green Cert removes the requirement for spending at least 50% of working hours farming, which is a very useful exemption. And for some it won't be an issue, but for others, it allows them avail of the relief where they couldn't otherwise do so if they're working away from home or whatever. So they're the four main taxation areas where the Green Cert provides significant benefits. Other non-tax benefits include the Young Farmer Scheme, which is paid on a number of active entitlements that the young farmer has up to a maximum of 50. And once again, the individual must hold an agricultural qualification and be under the age of 40. In addition, additional entitlements may be obtained from the National Reserve And also these apply to a young trained farmer only with off-farm income of less than 40,000, and or indeed it could be a top up on existing entitlements where the value is below the national average. So, as previously mentioned, there is a cumulative lifetime cap of 70,000 on 3 of the benefits that are available with the Green Cert. So that concludes my presentation on the benefits of the Green Cert. I suppose just by way of background, IFAC have over 30 offices around the country, and we specialise in all aspects of farm taxation. We're always more than happy to take on new clients either for income tax or for capital tax assignments, or indeed both. Of interest, we have recently published our farm succession guide, which gives invaluable information regarding all aspects of farm transfers, and this can be found on our website, or please feel free to call our office. It is useful for both people considering transferring farm to the next generation, or for somebody that may be in the situation where they may be receiving a gift or inheritance of land. So it's a useful guide for families. It's a document that can be used by families basically to start the discussion and to push on the discussion. Obviously, professional advice will be needed in conjunction with it, but it's a very, very good starting point. If you'd like a consultation from IFAC, please feel free to contact myself or anybody on the IFAC team. And questions will be dealt with at the end of this webinar. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening. And I'll hand you back to Brendan.
Thanks a million, Donal. That's a great amount of information you gave us there in relation to all the tax benefits there. Donal, I'll just get you maybe just to stop sharing your presentation there for 1 minute. And indeed, look at, we have lots of young trained farmers on tonight, and indeed participants. So keep those questions coming into us there. And in a moment's time now, we have my colleague Padraig Walsh from Teagasc Ballina, who is going to talk to us, I suppose, about the main benefits that's, you know, and the different types of courses that Teagasc will be offering this autumn. So indeed, look at, keep those questions coming in. We have lots of questions coming in here. We can see them on the computer. We have lots of participants also joining us tonight as well. So look at Padraig's presentation should certainly stir up more interest in courses. So keep the questions until the end. And Vivian, as I said, will also ask the question then to our 2 panelists, who are Padraig and Donal. So over to you now, Padraig.
No.
Perfect. Lovely.
Sorry about that little teething issue there, just to get it going. Right. Well, as Brendan said there, it's the benefits and the delivery options there of the Green Cert course that I'm going to deal with here for the next number of minutes. And I just want to outline there, I suppose we're starting there. The Teagasc Mayo regional centres are the centres that we have in the county, and they're based in Ballinrobe and in Ballina. Now, we do also, and the contact numbers of both of them are there, we also use and have the cooperation with and the benefit of using other centres around the county. The Ball Resource Centre, cooperation with a lot of local farmers, cooperation with Mayo Sligo Mart and Ballinrobe Racecourse and others like so. I suppose the delivery that we have for our courses is not just in the local centres. There's a lot of stakeholders involved, a lot of cooperation involved, and that leads to sort of an improved experience for all in terms of you know, real on-farm activity, classroom activity, and alternative venues as well. The Green Cert itself, the specific purpose certificate in farming, is what we're talking about there. I mean, that's what the Green Cert is, the specific purpose cert in farming. So there's a lot of different names down through the years, but that's the current one. It was and people have different certs, but that's what it is now, the specific purpose cert in farming. We have 2 options locally in Teagasc Mayo. There's the Teagasc Distance Education Green Cert course and the Teagasc Part-Time course. And we'll look at both of those in a bit more detail in a minute. The Teagasc Part-Time course is for adults 23 years of age and older, and that's a key point. And that kind of means essentially so that the courses we run locally are not for people that are under 23, and you'd say for people that are leaving school or they're doing their leaving cert and they're looking at options and they want to do the Green Cert, then the option really there would be the ag colleges for school leavers. And looking at it in a little bit more detail again, the Teagasc Distance Education Green Cert course, right? It's to get into that course or to participate in that course with ourselves. Participants would need a level 6 QQI non-agricultural major award. Now that's a big mouthful. Required for participation. So it's a level 6, okay, QQI non-agricultural major award. And people would have some minor level 6 QQI awards, but it's a major award, and it's kind of something we're talking about there, like an apprenticeship or a degree or something like that. We're looking at you know, someone that has a kind of an educational record behind them and a bit of you know, educational work done, I suppose. For people then that have that qualification and can avail of this course or get into this course, what are we looking at in terms of what does it involve? Well, up to now, about 25, 26 days, perhaps spread over about 15 to 18 months. And that's kind of possibly a movable feast. You know, Teagasc is looking there at shortening the duration of the course there from perhaps 15 to 18 months down to a lesser amount of time. It's not an entirely online course, and we need to be clear on that. You know, there's an online element to it, but you know, it involves skills and exams and practicals and assignments. So some people say it's an online course, and there's an online element to it, of course, but it's not entirely. Like, there are skills to be taught and assessed out on farms, out in the farms that we cooperate with, exams to be done, practicals to be done, and assignments also. And there is it's a level 5 and a level 6 element combined. You know, one would complete in any of the Teagasc Green Cert courses level 5 certificate in agriculture, the CIA there, followed up by a level 6. So it's a combination of the two. The second option that we mentioned was the Teagasc Green Cert part-time option for adults 23 years of age and over. So again, level 5 and level 6 element. What are we talking about in terms of delivery? We're talking about, now, traditionally it was 2 to 2.5 years in Mayo, usually a day a week, usually a weekday, like we're not talking weekends, I suppose, particularly. And I suppose usually a day as well. When I'm saying a weekday, it usually was a day rather than a night. We have gone the night option there, and it was of moderate success. You know, a lot of people coming in after a hard day's work found it very difficult. If they had the choice over, some of them certainly said they wouldn't do it again. So, you know, they preferred the day option, even though it is challenging to get a weekday. Summer work, you know, in the past, people doing the Green Cert would, the courses often finished in April and didn't come back again till September. But if we're shortening the courses and we are down to 2 years rather than 2.5 years, we're looking there at students engaging over the summer months as well. And some of the courses we've started most recently, the most recent course is working through the summertime to make sure that it's finished within the 24 months. There's more contact time than the distance option for sure. It's paced accordingly. We'd say perhaps maybe 3 times more contact time than the distance option. And there's more scope to discuss things, you know, academically and with classmates as well. So that's the reality there, that it's a bit more, you know, you get to know the people in your class a lot more than you would perhaps in the distance option. Now, COVID has brought its own challenges in this regard. You know, we're not in the classroom as much as we had, but we're obviously, you know, we're coming around the corner on that as well. Hopefully, we're through some of the trickier bits, and things will be opening up shortly. And that brings us, I suppose, to the whole idea of blended learning. This idea of, you know, what it's the term that's commonly talked about when we're talking about classes at the minute, the idea of blended learning. COVID-19 brought challenges. Alternative methods of teaching and assessment were foisted upon us, I suppose, and on students too. But like, it's certainly things that we intend to keep going into the future. Like, you know, we intend to continue with the ongoing progression. They were happening to some extent, of course, anyway, but I suppose we were, you know, that process was definitely sped up in terms of Zoom classes, Skype classes, you know, classroom too, but farms as well. So the kind of mix that we have at present, or we've had in recent times, certainly in both classes, in both the distance and the part-time class, is this kind of, you know, technology, you know, Zoom, Skype, classroom, farms, practicals, safe distance, of course, like, you know, but we will will continue to use a lot of these technologies going forward. Using Moodle and similar platforms as well there for getting work in, for for reducing the amount of paper environmentally, and for ease as well, for people's benefit, to try and cut down the amount of paper that's involved. And we have the option there of bringing in online assessment. It doesn't suit every class, it doesn't suit every student, but it's something we'll definitely be furthering in the future anyway. There'd be less paper-based assessment in future. The benefits of doing our courses, whatever option people go for, there's technical skills in animal husbandry and land use management, exposure to good farming activity and practices on local farms. Again, we cooperate, and local farmers cooperate with us, and it's part of what makes our course good, is that we're not just going to the same farm all the time, or the same agricultural college farm all the time. We're getting around to local farms, seeing different situations and different enterprises, and the goods and the bads. Farm safety, sustainability, and work-life balance is definitely a focus of our courses, because we have a lot of people there who have off-farm work, and they're trying to fit the farming into the other parts. So we're definitely focusing on that. Training in computer-based farm financial management skills, of course. And also, we realize that a lot of people are working in the community and in communication, and communication and leadership skills development is a focus as well. And we have a communications module that we're actively pursuing. I'm not going to spend too long at this now, because Donal has dealt with this very comprehensively there. The notion of stamp duty relief for young trained farmers is the Revenue Commissioner benefits, enhanced stock relief, etc. Consanguinity relief, and Donal brought up there the idea of age limits, that's a potential thing. And other benefits as yet unknown. It's worth putting that in there too, that a few years ago we wouldn't have guessed that there would be so many different elements or items of this so applicable, where the Green Cert would kick in. Certainly going on to this slide here in relation to the Department of Agriculture benefits and the young farmers and young farmers scheme top-up payments, possibly. Again, Donal talked about this, less than 40 years of age. I put an asterisk over this, because by the time anyone that hasn't started this Green Cert course would have it finished, we will be in a new phase of cap reform. The cap will be reformed. We'll be in a new round of cap budgets and cap rules. So, we cannot just guarantee that 40 years and all that goes with it, or that the old rules exactly will be replicated under the new situation there. There may be tweaks on it. But certainly, as we've pointed out, that the young farmer top-up payments for farmers less than 40 years of age, and even again, 40 years at the time, of first BPS application, you could be still eligible for the young farmer scheme at 41 or maybe 42 in rare occasions, depending on how you're, when you got a herd number and when you started farming, or when you first submitted a BPS application. You may be able to acquire BPS entitlements from the National Reserve. Young farmers, again, less than 40. But new entrants to farming is another one we're mentioning there as well. If this is continued under the new cap, new entrants to farming at 50, 60 years of age, people have come in, done the Green Cert with ourselves to obtain BPS entitlements from the National Reserve. New entrants to farming would be people that never farmed before. There's a 2-year limit to the extent to which they could have farmed at the time they'd apply for that National Reserve. But they would need the Green Cert, they would need to be trained. So, they wouldn't get the young farmer top up, they wouldn't get stamp duty relief or those kind of things, of course, but they may, in that case, that scope is there. Certainly people in our experience have availed of it. And Donal has talked about, for sure, the additional grant under TAMS. And again, as I said, other benefits as yet unknown. Going back a few years ago, schemes were all about just installation aid scheme and very little else. Now we're looking at all these kind of suite of payments that are there. It may be the case that in future there'll be more of these, schemes or reserves or payments, benefits there of doing the Green Cert. Information, like we would say that it's very important that people would consult widely at the time of farm transfer, to make themselves as aware as they can about what the pitfalls are, or what the benefits are, or where people can gain or lose, or just to be aware of everything in advance. It's a hugely, a certain level, traumatic event in someone's life, or in a farming career there, the transfer of a farm. And there's ways, you have to negotiate a path through it and around it. So Teagasc advisors or agricultural consultants would have a huge role to play. Accountants like Donal and IFAC, and solicitors, huge role to play also. Dolan outlined the publication that IFAC have released there in relation to this. Teagasc also have a Transferring the Family Farm booklet, the 2020 version, which is available on our website. And we have hard copies also now in our offices, which will assist people big time in this regard. And we also there last year have done a Transferring the Family Farm, an online event in November 2020. It was done on, it's on the Teagasc YouTube channel, which is, people can Google and go into there. It's some of our specialists dealt with this, and also indeed too we are having, and we have had round the country, and we're having them again this year, Transferring the Family Farm workshops, I suppose, at which there will be solicitors and accountants and mediators and people involved in this regard also. So we can keep an eye out for that and keep you informed on that also. Just in relation to the course itself, because we're talking a bit about the benefits of it, it's a mix of lecture time or practical time, skills, practicals. We've talked about this. Support is very important, and we want everyone to succeed in our courses, and assistance will be given as appropriate to support students, and that's based on their needs. You know, so we have scripters, we have readers, we have people there to assist people, and many students require assistance. People are not alone if they require assistance in doing our courses, and we'd find that problems are generally solvable, and we'd welcome people to make our, you know, to make their requirements known to us, because we can definitely help people in that regard. I've just thrown up there briefly the current modules that we have in our level 5 certificate in agriculture element of the Green Cert, 120 credits. The kind of subjects that people will be dealing with, the first few there in bold are compulsory ones: principles of agriculture, farm safety and assurance, soils and the environment, work practice, etc. Safe use of pesticides, of course, and you know, that's very topical, very relevant. Soils and the environment, very relevant too. So communications, as we said, beef, the main enterprises we deal with also, and we certainly do also deal with chemical fertilizer application, both in theory and the practical skill of applying fertilizer, and assess students on the tractor driving element of that. And indeed in farm safety and farm assurance, tractor driving is a big part of it also. Again, level 6 modules, there's 50 credits involved in the courses we're running currently, both in the distance and the part-time course. So it's work practice, business planning, farm performance measurement, which is benchmarking against targets, sustainable farming in the environment is a big module, grassland management and applied livestock breeding. So it's pretty much the cutting edge of where farming is at from a practical point of view. As regards progression, we'd be talking there about, you know, the role of graduates. And again, we'd find really question mark in there, like home farm, a lot of people going back to their home farm, and other farms are, as Donal talked about there, perhaps being leasees of farms where the owners perhaps wouldn't be spending 50% of the normal working time farming, but they lease it out to someone who perhaps could, who are often graduates of our courses. If someone wanted to go on and do a level 7 degree or to enter a level degree course, would our course automatically get them into a level 7 degree? No, there's an intermediate step there, which is the Advanced Cert in Agriculture. There's 70 more credits involved there. It's a higher level 6 award, but it's doable, and people could then, you know, going through the Advanced Cert in Agriculture, progress on to a level 7 degree or a level 8 degree potentially thereafter. The current fee for our course, 2,990 for the distance course, 1,700 for the part-time course, and the fees are subject to change. It's not set forevermore. But they are set by the Teagasc Authority or Board. They're not set locally, so they're subject to change in future. And finally, just if people want to register their interest in participating in either course, they can contact Cora Owens in Teagasc Ballinrobe. Cora's email is there, cora.owens@teagasc.ie, or call 076 111 3803. This will be available after I'm finished here. So that's essentially it now.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Padraig, for that presentation there. And
stop sharing.
I'll get you to stop sharing. And indeed, at this stage now, we have lots of questions. So I'm going to bring back all our panelists, and I'm now going to hand it over to our regional manager here for Mayo, which is Vivian Silke. And Vivian is going to put the questions that we have this evening in. We have lots of questions. We've maybe over 15 minutes still for questions, so there's still time to get your question in if you want to ask a question to Padraig or to Donal, and any question that may require further information in the coming days will be followed up by our speakers. So over to you now, Vivian.
Thanks, Brendan. Just before I go into the questions, Padraig mentioned the Transferring the Family Farm webinar that's recorded on our website. There's actually 2 coming up this October as well, new live ones. So they're on Wednesday the 4th of October and Wednesday the 13th. So they're 2 separate sessions. They're by and large the same, but either of those 2 dates you can fit into your diary. They're starting at 7:30 and they go on for an hour and a half. They're largely question based, and that's flagged and that's coming up. So just in case any of you want to join that, as well as the documentation that was mentioned by the 2 speakers. So we've plenty of questions, folks. Keep them coming in. I'll deal with them now. Some of them are largely the same, so I'll deal with them as much as I can and get down through them. The first question, Donal, is more or less for you. Do you have completed the Green Cert before you do you have to have completed the Green Cert before you've turned 35, or is it sufficient if you have started the course before turning 35?
Okay, so I suppose first of all, there is no limit. There is no age of 35 limit for inheritance tax purposes. So you don't have to have the qualification completed by 35 for inheritance tax for agricultural relief. However, for stamp duty, a transfer has to be done for stamp duty purposes before the age of 35, and the Green Cert has to be completed within 4 years of that to claim back the stamp duty if you wish to get the stamp duty relief.
Okay, I think that's an important point to stress, Donal, that it must be completed within 4 years if you're over the age by the time you get the qualification. Yeah.
That'd be 4 years from the time of transfer rather than 4 years from the age of 35. 4 years from the date of transferring the farm, Donal. Yeah.
Okay. Another one here, which I'm not fully sure the answer for you again, Donal. Is there any grant for setting up a partnership?
Yeah, there is a grant of up to 50% of the fees associated with setting up a registered farm partnership, up to a maximum of €1,500. So the answer is yes, there are grants available.
And is that a Department of Agriculture scheme that's run?
That's Department of Agriculture scheme, yeah.
Okay, very good. A question here from a female viewer this evening. She's 33 years of age. She has 2 younger brothers. Is it worth my while doing the Green Cert?
So from a taxation point of view, the answer is yes. If any of the, if any of the reliefs are to be looked for, such as the 100% stamp duty relief or the taxation reliefs. So depending on what's in the future for you in terms of transfers, absolutely the Green Cert can be very worthwhile.
Okay, and the next one follows on from that. You dealt with it in your presentation, but it's no harm to go over it again, Donal. Yeah. If you were 37, is there any point in starting the Green Cert now?
And from a tax point of view, absolutely yes. And I suppose I should point out at this stage that I'm only looked at the tax perspective. There's a huge educational benefit in doing the Green Cert. So anybody that goes through the Green Cert will get huge educational benefit from it that will assist in their farming and farming profitability. That aside, starting the Green Cert at the age of 37, there are benefits such as the benefits under agricultural relief and under consign use relief, where it avoids the requirement to spend 50% of your time farming. So it can be a benefit from a tax perspective.
Okay.
And could we just, and also of course don't forget the top-up payments. Perhaps, I know it's not tax, but I mean in terms of scheme benefits, you're still under 40. For national reserves for the young farm scheme for the top-ups. I'm not cutting you off there, Donal, but
no, absolutely.
But from a Department of Agriculture scheme, that you're still a young farmer at 37, you're under 40. Or TAMS as well, yeah. With TAMS, a young farmer grant, potentially the 60% grant rather than the 40%.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that clarification, Padraig. The next question is somewhat long-winded, but I'll go down through it. My father is a farmer. Myself and my sister are both under 35, and we will inherit the farm, I presume, between this, maybe 50-50, I'm not sure. I work full-time and also on the farm. My sister is working part-time and the remainder of her time working on the farm also. We both have level 8 qualifications. So again, a little bit like the previous question, is it of benefit to us to do the Green Cert?
Yeah, so once again, the educational benefits are huge. That aside, and I suppose from the entitlements point of view, there is potential for additional entitlements or top-up. Also under registered farm partnership, the potential for additional TAMS grants for any of you with the Green Cert, and the stamp duty exemption or the council neutral relief are very, very beneficial. So yeah, once again, depending on what's down the road for you in the future in terms of farming, the Green Cert can be very, very valuable across a number of headings.
Thanks, Donal, for that. If possible, could you clarify again for inheritance tax purposes specifically, what are the criteria and what parts are we exempt from if you have done the Green Cert?
Okay, so for inheritance tax purposes, we're looking at agricultural relief. And so agricultural relief, basically, it's available if 80% of your assets are agricultural assets. And just to use an example, if you have agricultural assets of 500,000 and non-agricultural assets such as bank investments or whatever of 100,000, your agricultural assets would be 500 over 600, which would be 83%. So you would meet the 80% test there, asset test. In addition, you must also farm or lease the land, and the farmer, either yourself or the leaseor, must spend 50% of their time farming the land or else have the Green Cert. So the Green Cert exempts the requirement for the farmer to be spending 50% of their time farming, which is very, very useful if you're living some distance away from the farm, or if your work brings you away either on a weekly basis or on a permanent basis.
Okay,
thanks for that, Donal. Padraig, I think this question
there's thresholds for that too, Donal, isn't there? Just in relation to the family, to the extent to which you're related to the owner, isn't that right?
No, for agricultural relief, there is no requirement to be related.
No, I'm saying there's thresholds there in terms of the category that you'd be in for the extent to which tax would apply.
Correct, yeah. So the threshold is 335,000 for parent to child. 32.5 for close relatives, or 16,250 for non-relatives. But say on a transfer of 500,000 farmland, if it's reduced by 90% to 50,000, then the 50,000 comes well below the 335,000 threshold and would become exempt, or would in the case of say a close relative, 32,500 compared to 50,000, the tax there would be in the region of 5,000. So it certainly reduces the tax significantly.
Makes a big difference, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, Donal. Padraig, the next couple of questions are mostly for yourself. Does a degree in veterinary medicine entitle you to the Green Cert?
Off the top of my head, it does. But I mean, again, to be sure, the best way of checking that, there's both the Department of Agriculture and Revenue, both of them independently have lists, appendices of what qualifications are equivalent to a Green Cert. So I'm pretty sure a degree in veterinary medicine from UCD, anyway, I think that's the one that's listed specifically, is on the list. So we can check it to be sure, but off the top of my head it is. But there's a huge list, like the appendix list would have 100 qualifications, perhaps more than 100. So that's where one would check, start with both the Department of Agriculture and Revenue independently.
Yeah, I just checked.
And sorry, Brendan, and if so, Padraig, do you need to have the course complete before you receive the qualification? I presume you would.
Would you have? Oh, I presume so. I mean, you'd have to have the. I mean, off the top of my head, would of course, yeah. Someone that has completed a degree course, they wouldn't be deemed to be equivalent to a Green Cert until the veterinary degree was complete. I would take it, because I mean, it lists the qualification. It's only when it would be complete that it'd be equivalent. And the same as Donal would tell us too, in fairness, for the stamp duty or anything else like the Green Cert course. The Green Cert course itself would have to be fully complete, document in hand, before someone could get the tax benefit of it. Just doing a course isn't enough.
Yeah. The next one, Padraig, I'm not just sure what they're getting at here, but do you or the farm you will work on have to be from County Mayo? I presume that's in relation to maybe the placement or the skills.
No. I mean, the idea, having access to a farm, I suppose, is to show, because we do diaries on local farms, but the student would have to show that they have, skills developed and assessing the enterprises that are taking place on some farm or other. It wouldn't have to be a Mayo farm, just that they have access to it and a management input into it, and that they have real experience, because otherwise it would be just looking in over the fence. That'd be no good. So it doesn't really matter. And
possibly the question might be directed: are we confining our enrolment to Mayo students? And the answer to that is no. We're welcoming people from any bordering counties.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we have people from 3 provinces as we are at the minute.
Very good. The next one, which is a timely one, and it's probably a fairly important one. I'm 34 years old at the moment. I have no green cert. The farm needs to be transferred before my 31st birthday. Can I avail of the stamp duty relief? I have no level 8 degree. Sorry, no level 8 non-agricultural degree. Did you get all that, Padraig?
They need to transfer it before their 35th birthday. They would. I mean, if they're transferring before the 35th birthday, they would then have to pay the stamp duty up front and, you know, get the Green Cert course completed within 4 years from the
4
time
years,
of that
yeah,
transfer. And then I think there's even a further 4 years from that to get the to get the herd number and everything up and running. You know, to be ticking all the other boxes in terms of 50% of the normal work time farming and that. But the key thing is, I mean, after you're 35, if the farm isn't transferred before your 35th birthday, regardless of how many green certs you have, it's no good. You have to have the transfer before your 35th birthday is key. The qualification can follow, but not the other way around.
Okay.
Just one point on that. The consignation relief, the 1% rate can be claimed if you qualify for it. So you can pay the 1% stamp duty and reclaim that in due course when you have the green cert. If you can't avail of the consignation relief, you'd have to pay the 7.5% stamp duty and reclaim that in due course.
Okay, we have a good few questions to get through. We'll try and get through them if we can. Keep your answers as short as you can, folks. The next one is a simple one, I think. What is the youngest age someone can do the green cert at, irrespective of where it's been done?
I think it's starting at 18 in the ag colleges. I'm not sure, but I mean, the ag college would be the place to go with that question. Donal may have a figure or an age that someone would have to be a graduate of a green cert course to avail of the tax reliefs. You probably have to be 18 for that too.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's an age limit from a tax perspective.
Okay.
I'm not aware of that.
But I'd say for the ag colleges anyway, it'd be 17 or 18 to get into it. I would check with the ag colleges. Check with the ag colleges. Our courses are for 23 upwards, essentially. Yeah. Or graduates.
Another question here. It's related. Are there any options for people younger than 23 to do this course at a distance, an online option or similar?
In I mean, technically, someone who could be a graduate could have a level 6 qualification and be under 23 to do our distance course, we'll say. But someone who is, you know, coming straight out of school and wouldn't have any post-secondary school qualification doesn't currently have the option to do a distance course with ourselves, you know, and doesn't have the option to do, you know, the part-time course either, like, you know. So, that's the question, isn't it? They have no qualifications in school.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There's a couple of questions here in terms of location of courses for enrollment in the next couple of weeks or months with ourselves. As Padraig outlined at the start, we have centres in Ballinrobe and Ballina, and from time to time we use the centre in Ball as well. So depending on the level of interest, depending on people's preference, we'll be looking at 1, 2 or 3 of those locations for new courses starting in the next couple of months, and we'll be back to you on that. We have everyone's email address from tonight, so we'll be able to liaise back with you on those particular things. Just 1 or 2 more questions before we wrap it up. For someone doing the green cert, I have not got a herd number yet. I'm over 35 years. Would it be better to get it as soon as possible?
They haven't done, perhaps not. Oftentimes, from the time you get the herd number, kind of starts the clock ticking in terms of you know, department schemes anyway. No, they may not have the same effect on revenue side of things, like, you know. But say in terms of the young farmer scheme, there was limits in terms of the extent to which how many years you had done in farming for the new entrant to farming. Certainly, there's a 2-year limit on that, and we don't know under the new cap whether there'll be a time limit, you know, that people could avail of National Reserve or young farmer top-ups if there were more than X amount of years farming. You know, as I said, there was a 5-year rule before that was amended slightly, so we don't know what the new cap will bring. This person hasn't a qualification, but they're over 35, so if they're doing the green cert, you know, it could take them a couple of years to get it done. They might be using up years, so I'm not sure that it might be a good idea just to necessarily get a herd number for the sake of it. You know, okay. It might be counterproductive doing so. 1
or 2 more questions before we finish up, Padraig. If I don't have a degree or any qualification in something, to do with farming, can I apply for the Green Cert course?
Don't have any qualifications since secondary school. I mean, our option there for doing the courses with Teagasc is to do the part-time course then, which is for people that are over 23 years of age. It isn't online. It isn't distance. It's the one that has the more contact time. It's the more involving, I suppose, done in the local centres. You know, so they wouldn't get into the distance course as things stand at the minute.
Okay, I'll just wrap it up with this final comment, and I'll hand back to Brendan to conclude. There's a good few questions here on when are we starting courses, when and where. I've mentioned already. We're looking at mid to late October, possibly 1st November. As you know, the COVID restrictions are due to be lifted furthermore on the 22nd of October, and that's probably a likely start date for either a part-time course or a distance course, or both, depending on level of interest and waiting lists that we have and so on. So with that, I'll hand it back to Brendan, and thanks very much for answering the questions, folks, that came in. And also thanks to the listeners and viewers for sending in the questions, which, you know, we tried to field all we could. If we don't get some of them answered, we'll follow them up tomorrow and towards the end of the week with answers through email. So thanks for that. Back to you, Brendan.
Yeah, thanks very much, Vivian. And indeed, look, thanks again to panelists tonight for sharing some great information with us all. And indeed, thanks to you at home for putting some great questions into the Q&A tab there. And there are lots of questions that we haven't got to. We have a record amount of questions in there this evening, so that just shows the great interest in the, I suppose, agricultural education. So, you know, at the moment, we are still taking names and numbers, and you can direct your queries to our dedicated education administrator, Cora Owens, and Cora is based in Ballinrobe, and Cora can be contacted on 094 95 41125, or you can email Cora on cora.owens@teagasc.ie. And indeed, look at this webinar has been recorded, and it will be available to playback on the Teagasc Mayo YouTube channel in the coming days. And indeed, all we want to say is just to say good night to you all, and keep safe, folks. And we will have further webinars coming up again, you know, in the future months. So stay tuned and keep following us on social media for the latest interactive webinars. Thank you, folks. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.